In 1930, the first civil disobedience movement was going on in India under the leadership of Gandhiji. During this time, a leader was also emerging in India who believed that the British would have to be beaten and driven out of India. They would not understand through non-violent methods. This was the statement of our great freedom fighter Subash Chandra Bose, whom the world calls Netaji. On one hand, Gandhiji used to say that I will demand India's independence from the British through non-violence, but the same Netaji believed that I will not rest until I drive the British out of India, even if I have to take up arms for this. When India became independent in 1947, the whole world said that Mahatma Gandhi's policy of non-violence gave freedom to the country. But this was only half the truth, because when trials were started on Netaji's army INA, the soldiers of the whole India together protested. The only reason behind the success of the Quit India movement was that all the soldiers did not help the British government in ending or crushing these movements. The British were able to rule India only because the soldiers of India were helping them. INA, but after the trial started, when the police and soldiers themselves started pushing the British started facing a lot of problems in controlling India. Former British Prime Minister Clement Attlee said that India got independence from Subash Chandra Bose and his army INA, and not Mahatma Gandhi's non-violent movement. He said this to the governor of West Bengal, Justice P.B. Chakraborty, during the Bengal tour of 1956. He said that due to Netaji's military activities, the loyalty towards the British Raj among the British Indian Army and Navy had decreased a lot, due to which the British panicked in India and they had to leave India. Netaji remained with the Congress for a long time, but he added real colors to the picture of India's freedom struggle when he left India and himself prepared the Azad Hind Fauj. The bravery and sacrifice of a few soldiers trained by Netaji awakened a wave of patriotism in the hearts of soldiers all over India. The trials of the INA became such a storm that the British government got so caught in its grip that it had to say goodbye to India. Netaji Subash, who gave us the confidence of an independent and sovereign India. Now Hindustan is self-ruled from the heart. Subash Chandra Bose is such a personality of enslaved India, who fought for independence not only inside the country, but also outside the country. Netaji Subash Chandra Bose was very feared by the British. You give me blood, I will give you freedom, Jai Hind. Jai Hind. In 18974, the patience and condition of the people was dying, and in the meantime, famine was seen in India. Due to this famine, about 69.5 million people were affected and lakhs of people died of hunger. But the Britishers were not bothered by the condition of India or its people even a bit. In the same year, a person was born in India who was successful in showing these Britishers their right place. January 23, 18974, was the day when Subash Chandra Bose was born in a Bengali family. In Cuttack, Odisha, his father Jankanath Bose was a big lawyer who worked for the British government, and his mother was a housewife. Subash Chandra Bose's family was counted in an upper-middle-class family at that time, due to which he never saw poverty in his house. Including him, there were a total of 14 children in his house, but all lived happily together. Netaji wanted to study since childhood, due to which when he got admission in Protestant European school at the age of 5, he was overjoyed. But in the school he noticed that most of the people there were Europeans and Anglo-Indians, and at the same time, emphasis was given on speaking and learning English language in the school. The language or history of India was completely ignored there, due to which Bose was upset even at such a young age. However, at the age of 12, Subash Chandra Bose was admitted to Raven Shaw Collegiate College, where Indian languages were also taught. At a very young age, Subash Chandra Bose started reading the writings of great people like Ramakrishna Paramahansa and Swami Vivekananda. These people had such an impact on the life of Subash Chandra Bose that he decided that he has to spend his life only in doing social service. After schooling, Subash Chandra Bose took admission in Presidency College, and here too he achieved a lot of success in studies. During these days, Subhash Chandra Bose had a quarrel with a professor of this college because of beating Indian boys without any reason, and Subhash Chandra Bose raised his hand on the professor in anger, due to which he was expelled from the college. Subhash Chandra Bose was involved in many political activities along with studying in the college, which many British professors did not like. Subhash Chandra Bose's expulsion continued till July 28, 1917, but due to family connections, Netaji finally got admission in Scottish Church College. After graduation, his father sent him to England so that he could prepare for Indian civil services and become a good rank officer. Although Subhash Chandra Bose did not want him to work under the British government, but keeping the respect of his father, Subhash Chandra Bose took admission in Cambridge, England in September 1919, and cleared the Indian civil service in the first attempt itself and gained 4th position. But when Subhash Chandra Bose was on his probation period here, he started hearing many incidents of nationalist crimes in India, due to which Subhash Chandra Bose immediately left his job and turned towards his country. His father was very angry with the case of Subhash Chandra Bose, but his elder brother Sharat Chandra Bose always supported him. Subhash Chandra Bose's political career started from a very young age. His mother was very much influenced by the Indian National Congress, and Netaji himself was also ready to join it and liberate the country. That is why he joined the Congress in 1921. On reaching India, Subhash Chandra Bose took part in the non-cooperation movement started by Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi recognized Subhash Chandra Bose and advised him to work under Bengal's freedom fighter Chittaranjan Das. In the same year, Subhash Chandra Bose joined the Congress and actively participated in the non-cooperation movement under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. He became so devoted to his dedication and patriotism that he quickly became known in the Congress. Subhash Chandra Bose became a part of the Bengal Congress on Gandhiji's advice and emerged as an amazing youth educator, journalist and commander of the Bengal Congress Volunteers. That was the time when Subhash Chandra Bose started Swaraj newspaper and started writing openly against the British. At the same time, Subhash Chandra Bose was also elected President of Indian Youth Congress and Secretary of Bengal State Congress. Benito Musli. At the same time, Subhash Chandra Bose also wrote his first book, The Indian Struggle. In 1936, Subhash Chandra Bose returned to India and spent 1 more year in jail. There is no doubt that Subhash Chandra Bose respected Gandhiji a lot, and the goal of both was also the independence of India. But here the difference between the two was only about the ways of working. On one hand, Gandhiji wanted to taste freedom without any violence. Subhash Chandra Bose believed that anything is justified for independence, while Gandhi believed that independence can be achieved without bloodshed. The same Subhash Chandra Bose used to raise slogans like, "Give me blood, I will give you freedom." Subhash Chandra Bose was rapidly becoming a radical, due to which Gandhiji started having problems with Subhash Chandra Bose's independence idea day by day. But by this time, Subhash Chandra Bose's popularity among the public had increased a lot, due to which everyone supported Subhash Chandra Bose along with Gandhiji. The sourness in the relationship between Gandhiji and Subhash Chandra Bose came from the Congress presidential election. When Subhash Chandra Bose stood for the presidential election, Gandhiji did not want Subhash Chandra Bose to win the election, due to which he also fielded Sita Ramaiah from his side. But the surprising thing was that when the election results came, Subhash Chandra Bose won the election and Gandhiji's candidate lost. Gandhiji was already not very happy with Subhash Chandra Bose's victory, and on top of that, after winning the election, Subhash Chandra Bose made a national planning. A committee was formed in which the policy of broad industrialization was formulated. Netaji's economic policies were also completely different from Gandhiji's economic thought, due to which Gandhiji stopped supporting Subhash Chandra Bose, due to which Netaji had to resign from his post of president on April 29, 1939, even though he did not want to. After resigning from Congress, Netaji understood that he would no longer be able to work with Gandhiji, due to which he formed the Forward Bloc. Forward Bloc was a left-wing nationalist political party which worked on the independence ideas of Subash Chandra Bose. Mainly people of the extremist group participated enthusiastically in this party, especially the leaders of South India, especially Ukkarapundi Muthra Malinatevar, who was a big leader of Tamil Nadu. All the big leaders together showed a lot of support and left the Congress and joined Subash Chandra Bose. Subash Chandra Bose, along with his party, carried out many small and big protests against the British, due to which the British government once again put Subash Chandra Bose in jail in 1940. But this time Subash Chandra Bose went on a hunger strike in the jail, due to which the British government released him from jail and put him under house arrest, where the police officials working in the British government started keeping an eye on him day and night. But Netaji was successful in escaping from house arrest by changing his disguise. However, it was not easy for Netaji to escape from here. That is why he stopped meeting the British guards during his arrest. He sent a message that he wanted to spend some time in solitude. The British guards got a lot of relief from this, but the truth was that during this time Netaji was growing his beard and mustache so that he could escape from here. Finally, on the night of 177th January, Netaji left his house wearing a Pathani suit along with his nephew Sisir Bose. It was very important for Netaji to wear this dress and look so that he could not be identified, and when he entered Afghanistan, he would look like those people. Netaji's plan was that he would reach Germany crossing Afghanistan and Moscow and uproot the British from India with the help of Hitler. Anyway, after this Netaji went to Dunbad. He left for Peshawar by taking the Kalkam mail train from Gamo, a railway station near Afghanistan. Peshawar shared the border with Afghanistan, so his journey to Afghanistan was to start from here. Some of his Afghan friends were already present there. Reaching Afghanistan from Peshawar was not an easy task for Netaji, because even though Netaji looked like a Pathan, he did not know even a single word of their language Pashto. That is why he adopted the character of a deaf and dumb Pathan during his journey to Afghanistan, and somehow crossed the Afghan border and escaped from the eyes of the British. During this time, Netaji adopted the Pathani form and traveled in Afghanistan under the name Jioaddin. After this, to come to Moscow via Afghanistan, he disguised himself as an Italian man and reached Moscow with the help of a fake passport. To come to Moscow, he used a new name, Count Orlando Mazda, so that he could enter Russia easily. Actually, Subash Chandra Bose knew that if he wanted to escape from the rule of the British, then something big would have to be done. Nothing would happen with small protests until this time he had the Congress. And Gandhiji was also not with him, due to which Subash Chandra Bose first thought of taking help from the Soviet Union. But before Subash Chandra Bose could succeed in his plan, due to World War II, the Soviet Union joined hands with the Allied forces. The Allied powers included Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, which means that now the Soviet Union does not take any action against the UK at least, due to which Subash Chandra Bose thought of asking for help from Germany, i.e. Germany, Italy, and Japan, and reached Germany to meet Hitler. After Moscow, Rome, and then from Rome, Netaji entered Nazi Germany with the hope of getting help from Hitler. After reaching Germany, Netaji got attached to the Special Bureau of India with the help of Adam van Trott zu Sols. Adam van was the person who was responsible for the broadcasting of the German-sponsored Azad Hind radio. In Berlin, along with Netaji, the rest of the Indians together started doing regular broadcasts on the German-sponsored Azad Hind radio, and this was the time when Subash Chandra Bose was honored with the title of Netaji by the Indian Legion and the Special Bureau of India. Netaji established the Free India Center in Berlin itself, and Indian Army was formed from Indian prisoners of war who had fought for the British in North Africa, before being captured by the Axis forces. To get these soldiers released, Subhash Chandra Bose first arranged a meeting with Hitler in which Hitler met Netaji and was very impressed by his amazing attitude, confidence, and intelligence, due to which Hitler decided to release all the Indian war prisoners to help Netaji and gave full support to Netaji. The number of soldiers released was around 4,500. That is, Subhash Chandra Bose now had a good number of people to support him. May 29, 1942 was the day when Netaji met Hitler for the first time. Hitler talked about helping Netaji, but soon he understood that Hitler was only trying to spread Nazi propaganda with his help, and he was not going to get any special help from him. Hitler's help also gradually started decreasing when Nazi Germany started losing the war between 1942 and 1943. By this time, the Japanese forces were rapidly moving towards the east. Subhash Chandra Bose had understood that he could not stay in Germany for long, and there was no benefit to him in staying here. Due to which in 1943 itself, Netaji left for Japan to ask for help. Leaving his wife and little daughter behind, Netaji was now going to head towards Japan. It took him 3 months to reach Sumatra from Berlin, and this 3-month journey was full of danger every moment. During this journey, Netaji and his team were aboard 2 German submarines Y-1880. During this journey, Netaji and his team remained submerged in water the whole day and traveled only at night. During this time, once one of his submarines came in the enemy's radar while crossing the Atlantic Ocean, but fortunately his submarine came to know about this, and as soon as the enemy submarines moved towards them, Netaji's submarine dived and escaped an accident by a few yards. After such a slow journey, finally Netaji, after circling the Cape of Good Hope about 300 kilometers south of Madagascar, boarded a Japanese submarine I-29 and reached Singapore, which was a Japanese colony in those days. After a short stay in Singapore, he left for Japan, and finally Netaji reached Tokyo on November 7, 1943. There he made several radio broadcasts and appealed to Indians to join the battle for their independence, and led the Indian independence movement in East Asia from July 4th, where Subhash Chandra Bose started preparing an army of 40,000 troops with the help of Japan in Japanese-occupied Singapore. You know this army of 40,000 troops as INA, or Indian National Army, or Azad Hind Fauj, which was created during the Second World War. The credit for creating this army first goes to the Indians living in Southeast Asian nations, especially Raj Bari Bose, who was an Indian revolutionary and had fled from his country and was living in Japan for many years. In fact, when Japan defeated the British armies and occupied almost Southeast Asia, the Indian Independence League formed the Indian National Army with the help of Indian prisoners of war to free India from British rule. General Mohan Singh, who was an officer in the British Indian Army, played an important role in organizing the INA. In August 1943, Netaji took command of the Indian National Army and became its supreme commander and established the INA headquarters in Nan and Singapore. After this, Netaji started working completely on the Azad Hindu Army, and he formed the Provisional Government of Independent India on October 21, 1943 in Singapore, and went to Japanese-occupied Andaman and hoisted the Indian flag there. By this time, Netaji had made the INA very strong and explained to them the way to fight in every way and to free their country. Also, this was the time when Netaji raised the slogan of "Give me blood, and I will give you freedom," and every soldier of the INA was filled with the passion to free their country at any cost. Taking his idea further, Netaji decided that he could not wait any longer. Music. In early 1944, 3 units of the Azad Hind Fauj together attacked the northeastern parts of India and vowed to uproot the British from India. During this time, the INA's love for their country was so strong that as soon as the INA soldiers entered India, they lay down in front of their motherland and started kissing their land. The Azad Hind Fauj fought against British India along with the Japanese army in Operation Yugo. Although the INA did get success in the initial stages of the operation, but during the Battle of Impol and Kohima, which was fought on April 4, 1944, the INA and Japan were forced to retreat. In this war, Japan and the INA together had to face a big defeat. However, even at this time, the INA did not accept defeat, but their entire supply chain was destroyed. The soldiers of INA were already cut off, and on top of that, the soldiers of INA were very tired due to the heavy rains and fighting in the jungles. On one side was the mighty army of the British, their advanced weapons and aircrafts, and on the other side was the army of tired and hungry prisoners who were fighting with their guns. How long could they hold on to their willpower? In such extreme conditions, INA had to surrender. After this, the Japanese disbanded many of their soldiers' wings so that the remaining food and drink could be captured by the Japanese soldiers. However, Netaji was confident that the Azad Hind Fauj could weaken the roots of the British government by fighting against it, and this is what happened. Even though Subash Chandra Bose's army could not win, but his attempt created such a passion in the hearts and minds of every youth of India to free their country that they started challenging the British from the front. Even Veer Bhagat Singh was one of those few youngsters who got inspired by Subash Chandra Bose's speeches and his love for the country and started the slogans of Azad Hind Fauj, Delhi Chalo and Jai Hind. Such slogans filled the Indian soldiers with courage, and they started protesting at various places. Overall, a wave of freedom for the country swept across the country, the credit for which goes to Netaji. A unique thing was also seen in INA that Netaji formed a regiment of women in his army. This regiment was commanded by Captain Lakshmi Swaminathan, and this regiment was also named Rani Jhansi Regiment. Subhash Chandra Bose did not discriminate on the basis of religion or caste. He believed only in social service, and perhaps that is why a person like Jinnah agreed to accept Netaji as the first PM of independent India. Along with the defeat of INA, the condition of Japan was also seen to be deteriorating in World War II. And then Japan attacked Pearl Harbor of America, the result of which was that America participated in World War II and joined hands with the Allied powers and declared war against Japan. This enmity ended with the attack on Japan's Hiroshima, and it happened with a nuclear attack on Nagasaki Island, in which Japan was badly devastated, after which Japan announced its surrender. After losing the Second World War, INA also had to stop its activities, due to which Netaji had no work in Japan anymore. Subhash Chandra Bose decided that now he would leave for Manchuria. Something similar happened. On August 18, 1945, Netaji took his last journey in a plane from Taipei, Taiwan. The last because before this plane could reach its destination, there was a big accident and the plane crashed, after which the news came that Subhash Chandra Bose is no more. He suffered a lot of burn injuries in the crash, due to which in August 1945, Subhash Chandra Bose took his last breath in a hospital in Taiwan and said goodbye to the world forever. There were always controversies among the people about Netaji's death. Some people believed that Subhash Chandra Bose never died in a plane crash, but it was only a way to deceive the British government. That is, he quietly disappeared by showing his death on the pretext of this fake plane crash. While some people kept working secretly for the independence of India, some people also believed that Netaji had become a threat to the upcoming Indian government and political powers, due to which he was killed. Some people, while making their own theory, say that Netaji was kept in captivity, behind which the Soviet Union or the Japanese government was involved, and he was never released from this imprisonment. Apart from this, people also know him by the name of Gumnami Baba. Many people believe that Subhash Chandra Bose had now started living in Faizabad, Uttar Pradesh as Gumnami Baba. If seen, not only this, but apart from this, many conspiracy theories are associated with the death of Netaji. Everyone has made up their own story about his death, but no one knows the truth of all these theories. Due to this, no one could ever claim the death of Subash Chandra Bose with full confidence. Overall, people did not want to accept the death of Netaji. Netaji may not have been able to see the independence of India, but every free person of independent India always had respect and love for Netaji in his heart for the country. While fighting, Netaji himself became anonymous and got lost in the darkness, but the torch of freedom that he lit ignited such a fire in the whole of India that the British Empire was engulfed in flames. When the British government started the trial of Netaji's INA, the soldiers of the whole India together protested. The only reason behind the success of the Quit India movement was that all the soldiers did not help the British government in ending or crushing this movement. The British were able to rule India only because they had the military force here, but the bravery and sacrifice of a few soldiers trained by Netaji awakened a wave of patriotism in the hearts of the soldiers of the whole India. In this trial, thousands of soldiers of the British Indian Army supported the INA and expressed their anger over their trials. Soon, the news spread among the people of the whole country that the British were trapping the soldiers of our country in any false allegation and torturing them. After this, people of the whole country started protesting everywhere, and the soldiers of the INA were expelled from the whole country. Sympathy started pouring in. Soon Congress formed the INA Defense Committee, and the top lawyers of the country offered to defend the INA case. This committee included big leaders and lawyers like Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Desai, Asaf Ali, Sharad Chandra Bose, Tej Bahadur, and Kailashnath Kaju. The INA trials, or Red Photo trials, created such a storm in 1945-46 that the British government was so caught in its grip that it had to say goodbye to India. During this time, the Navy mutinied in many parts of India. People from Chennai, Kolkata, Bombay, and even Karachi stood up against this trial. In fact, when the British came out of the World War, they court-martialed many INA soldiers, filed different cases against them, and implicated them in false charges. The British also said that during the World War, many British Indian soldiers had also joined the INA, which was a betrayal to the British Crown. On this, the people and soldiers of the whole of India stood up against them. The British thought that these soldiers were not capable of fighting the INA. By punishing the soldiers, he would set an example in India, so that in future no one would dare to stand against the British Crown. But his strategy worked against him. During this trial, the whole of India started sympathizing with the soldiers of INA. People of India started joining INA. Protests started everywhere. Riots took place at many places and British officers started being chased away. The names of 3 big soldiers of India, Captain Shahnawaz Khan, Captain Prem Kumar Sehgal, and Lieutenant Gurbaksh Singh Dhillon were included in this trial. Out of these, one was a Muslim, the other was a Sikh, and the third officer was a Hindu, due to which the whole of India united and stood with them. The trial which the British were considering as their victory, the same trial had now become the enemy of their lives. When the Congress INA Defending Committee also stood with the INA officers, then the political differences in the country also got blurred and the whole country united and stood with them. The British got scared with such a big and unified movement. It is to be said that now Netaji was no more. He neither remained in the headlines of the newspapers, nor did he form any organization to give freedom to India, but the army and thinking created by him shook the roots of the British in India, and soon India got freedom from the British rule in 1947.